Welcome back. I'm Randy Bueller, joined by Steve Menendian.
Hi, everyone.
How you feeling about that match?
Not too pleased.
Yeah, I think we have the tradition today. We've been bringing in the losers to sort of reflect upon their misery somehow.
Well, I'm happy to join the tradition. That was just a beating there. All three of those games were blowouts.
Yeah, it didn't seem like there was a whole lot you could do about it. I mean, it came down to you just three good draws, and you only had one of them.
Yeah, I cycled rebuild. I was like, in those two draws, I said I need something here.
Yeah.
You know, I need it, and I drew a volcanic island. So
yeah, you actually, it's funny. You drew the vampiric off the cycle. If it's in the other way around, you could actually have vampiric and cycled into the card you vampiric tutored for.
Yeah, and I think even protect it with force.
Well, the tricky part is to rebuild your blue card for the force. He had
Yeah.
Force of Will at the time, so once you cycle rebuild, there's actually no outs.
But it hit 8 mana. I had
Oh, you could hard cast it. No, you're right.
That's what I had 9 mana.
It's super close because like you played the volcanic, but anyway, yeah, it was actually quite close that turn, and I thought it was you were absolutely correct to cycle because if you hit, you definitely had a shot. Right. Would have involved hard casting Force of Will, which I think you have enough mana to do.
Yeah, the key decision I think was whether to force his ancestral, and I was just I lose Lotus.
Oh, there's no way. No way can you force that ancestral. You lose the Lotus, you tap the mana vault, and you turn off the Opal?
Yeah, it's really bad.
No way. All right, so tell me about your deck choice. What did you wind up with?
I'm playing a variant of Brian DeMars' Steel City Vault called Angel City Vault, developed by a guy named Danny Batterman, and it just tests so well. It's so smooth. The number one thing that this is such a metagaming for these three players is an insular experience, and there's two ways to approach it. One is to try and figure out what they're going to play. The other is to try and figure out what they won't play. And I had decided, although you threw a wrench in this, Randy, I decided that my opponents would not be playing Null Rod. So I looked, I thought, okay, you've done the Mirthfolk thing before. I thought everyone got that out of their system. And in additional, so I looked at the metagame and I thought, what's the deck that benefits the most if no one is playing Null Rod? And I decided the Time Vault combo deck. You just got it. It's very. The other thing that's interesting is that I thought everyone would put me on Delver. Delver is the most logical choice in this metagame. Delver Cruise.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, okay, I can't play Delver right here because I just played it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like that might be the best deck running around right now. Just the plays so well with the new Khans of Tarkir toys. I don't know what the anti-Delver list is. I don't know. I didn't have a ton of time, so I did think that no one would expect me to circle back around to Merfolk.
Yes.
I also, though, I thought Josh was going to be on some combo thing. So I've got, like, sideboard full of Mind Break traps, and, like, I'll do the Merfolk with, like, the aggro and the permission to just shut down whatever combo shenanigans. No, he shows up with Delver and just crushes me.
Mm.
Oh, well. So, okay.
So what was your rationale? What was your rationale for switching back to Merfolk?
It was the best deck that I had experience with that I could run Treasure Cruise in. Like I don't have any actual experience with Delver, and I didn't have a good Delver list. I would have just been, copying one of probably, maybe the LSV is the best one I've seen, but I would have just been copying that and shoving in Khans cards, and that I felt like Merfolk, especially because I thought Null Rods would be good. Like if Josh is on an artifact-based combo deck, it's good. Yeah, so I thought Null Rods would be decent. I mean, everybody in the league is still playing Manatite, so I like Wastelands and Null Rods if everybody is trying to, especially if people are trying to cheat on expensive cards. I mean, the Khans toys they're on the expensive side. I mean, you certainly got to do a lot of stuff to get your graveyard full of gas. I don't know. That was my theory.
You surprised me, that's for sure.
Well, good. I need a win. It's been a while. You're going to make top 4 either way. I got to get out of last. Do we play next week or the last week? I think we played the last week.
I'm not sure. Yeah. So what do we got? What do we got going on up here? What's our upcoming?
Yeah. So Tom Martell versus Dave Williams. These guys are 3-3. Dave sounds like he's having a deck registration issue, so we got a couple minutes to kill. Okay. Oh, we play next week. We play next.
Okay.
You play Martell in the last week, and I play Chris in the last week.
Yeah, I was I'll just add one more comment to my deck selection process.
No,
I was in a
please.
different kind of I was in a different kind of spot because, you know, if when you consider, I think most of the players are just thinking, okay, I'm just going to play the best deck I can. But I also had to think about, if I make top four, what deck will I switch to in top four? And
Yeah.
so it's, an additional sort of incentive to play something different. And also, I mean, my Pro Tour is coming up the week after next. The
Eternal Weekend.
Yeah, the Eternal Weekend. So, I also can't necessarily play my best cons deck
Oh,
these 2
I
weeks.
see how it is. Wow. So you've already got you already have your playoff deck picked out then? Just sort of hidden in a drawer somewhere?
Pretty close.
Nice. That's cool.
Well, I guess I'll switch it. I think I know what I'm playing at Vintage Champs. And if it does well, then I'll probably play out that in the top four. Of course, could change things, but
Oh, I hadn't thought about the way that Vintage Champs should affect our playoff metagame.
Right.
Yeah, it totally should. So right, Eternal Weekend. So we talked about it a little bit earlier. It's not this weekend, but the next weekend. It's in Philadelphia. I'll be there doing commentary. Steve will be there playing. I think like half the league is going to wind up there doing one thing or another.
It's going to be great. I mean, I expect, last year we had over 300 players playing Vintage, which is just totally unprecedented in North America.
Right, and everyone was like, wow, I didn't know it was going to be that cool. I should have gone. And the stream seemed like it got a lot of positive buzz. Vintage being a thing you can do in Magic Online now seems like it's got more people maybe have the bug.
Yeah. I fully expect some of the Magic Onliners to show up, and even for folks who don't own all the power, there is a budget prize. So if you roll in with a budget deck, and you do, the best place among all the budget players, you'll win something really nice.
So how does the budget deck work? It's like there's a list of 20 cards you can't play or something?
Right. No power. I think Workshops, Bazaars, Imperial Seal, none of that.
But if you don't have any of those cards in your deck, it's whoever does the best with that gets super sexy prize schedule.
Right. And so 2, 3, 4% of the metagame will be those decks.
Yeah, very nice. Wait, so and it's which day is which? Because there's Legacy Champs in addition to Vintage Champs.
Saturday should be the Legacy Championship, and then Sunday is the Vintage Championship. And the paintings are pretty sweet. They've been posted. Looks like we've got our...
All right. Time to see what they're playing. Dave has...
Ooh, Dave's hand is juiced.
Wow. Tom Martell plays with the tiniest settings. His hand is always super small. 1, 2, so yeah, that's only 6 cards. I can't tell it. Yeah, looks like he's taking a mulligan down to 6.
Tom has black, so we know he's not blue-red Delver if he's playing Delver. It looks like he's some sort of... I can't tell what the card...
That looks Grixis Control-y to me. I mean, it's like Gitaxian Probe, Time Walk, Lightning Bolt are the spells we get to work with. But we do see both Volcanic and Underground and a basic island.
Dave's got Tinker and Wheel in his hand.
Yeah.
And he's got to decide what he's going to do here. He's not quite able to play this Dak Faden.
He can't get Dak down yet, right?
Right.
The opal's not turned on?
But he can tinker away the opal.
Oh, sure.
And so he's got a tough decision. Spoiler, I know what Dave's playing because he and I are playing the same deck.
Oh, really? He couldn't work with Ephro this time around, so he worked with you, and you guys all three wound up on the same.
What's funny is Ephro ended up playing our deck too.
Sort of, yeah.
All three of us. Interesting. He went for the wheel.
Wow.
I thought he was going to take away the opal for either the jar or the inkwell.
Wow.
That seemed to have helped Tom out quite a bit.
Yeah, that was a mulligan draw from Tom too. Yeah, I think I would have tinkered there. Then if you run into Force of Will, you can wheel next turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just drew
Looks like Tom is on Gush.
Yeah, Tom has certainly enjoyed Gush lists in the past. Did he run? He played Gush the first set, right? He played the version with very few creatures. In fact, I don't think he had any creatures. Right, yeah, he played a completely creatureless Gush deck. It basically had to tendrils for the win.
The theme of this tournament so far is, at least this set, is people returning to what they played in the first set. LSV LSV's back to Gush. Tom's back to Gush. You're back to Merfolk.
I guess. I mean, LSV wanted a dig through time list.
You can't blame him.
No. I mean, I think Pyromancer is the best dig through time or treasure cruise list. So what's your take? Treasure cruise or dig through time?
I think it just depends on the deck list. For the Delver type decks, you got to go with cruise. But for the decks that run the so-called haymakers, I think dig through time is probably where it's at.
Yeah, that's what I think. But in the back of my mind, there's this nagging doubt that dig through time might just be better.
That's interesting. I think the emerging consensus, at least in the vintage community, is that treasure cruise is probably the one that's just better.
Yeah, I think dig is better. I mean, dig's the more powerful effect by far.
Right.
Does that one mana really matter? And isn't instant useful?
You rather ancestral or look at 7 and draw 2? It's the card quality versus quantity, and it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So Tom's got his Delver out, and Dave Williams has deployed all his mana, but he always got his control cards at this time.
Yeah, this is definitely not the Delver list, the Gush list that Martell had in week 1. He was completely creatureless, and now he's gone all the way to Delver, and I'm sure he's got young Pyromancers in this list. I think that.
So he actually is on a Delver deck with the splash for black, presumably for some Thoughtseize in there somewhere.
Or else it could just be Yawgmoth's Will as well.
Thoughtseize is pretty good, though, when you're trying to build up the cruise or dig through time. My guess is he's got cruise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think Dave is probably regretting his decision to not tinker or Inkwell. He probably could have just won the game from there.
Well, if it resolves, right? Yeah. You know what it could have been? It could have been that he put Tom on Force of Will, and he figured he'll bait with the wheel so that his tinker will resolve.
So Dave is capable of playing, let's see, hard casting no less than 2 forces. The question is he hard casting this Inkwell yet?
3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No problem. There. 12, 13 if he plays the 2 Lotus Petals from his hand.
And Inkwell is not going to be Dak Faden. So if he can get into play.
It is immune to Dak Faden. That's hilarious. I was thinking about Jace as the reason to play Inkwell over Blightsteel, but Dak Faden seems relevant too.
It's like he's going for it.
Oh, yeah. He's got Force of Will backup. Go for this.
Fortunately, it being blue actually is a disadvantage here on the stack.
Wow. Jeez. So Tom gets the point of Pyroblast at it. Super efficient, 1 mana, 1 card. Dave, I think, correctly goes to defend it with Force of Will. And that's not going to work. Is Flusterstorm, is the storm count high enough for Flusterstorm? Or does he have to use a Force of Will here?
The Flusterstorm will be the 4th spell. So if Dave had played
Lotus is just 1 short. But if he played the Lotus Petal, the storm count would be 1 higher. So
exactly, it would not have helped.
And he still would have been 1 mana short of this last Force of Will. Yeah. Well, I think Dave was right to go for that.
Yeah. Delver does what it does best.
Uh-huh.
Tom's just in the spot where he can't gush yet because he needs that second land. But sometimes you can just ride this one land hand to victory, and he's got the tools to do it. He's got
he flipped it. Dave's down to 8.
And Tom just drew Pyroblast. So
Dave's flipping for Mana Crypt. He's got a tapped Mana Vault that, I mean, I guess he has to pay to untap here.
He's got to draw something good here.
Time Walk. That's the top deck.
Time Walk could bring him closer to just death on his upkeep with Lightning Bolt.
Indeed. It's even Lightning Bolt with Pyroblast backup.
He's going to 3 anyway, so he's going to play. Tom is going to play Bolt on his upkeep regardless for his draw step.
He loses the Mana Crypt flip, of course. Now he's
That's Gabe.
obliged to untap Mana Vault. Right? What did I miss?
Oh,
Yeah.
Dave, I think, forgot to untap the Mana Vault and then just died in his draw step.
Wow. That game was crazy. Dave's hand was so explosive, and then the wheel didn't work out.
Well, it's interesting. Tom actually had a very slow and answer light hand, and the wheel actually just recharged his entire hand and gave Tom everything he needed. While it flipped it, where it left Dave with just control cards. So there was it really was a wheel of fortune there. It didn't quite.
Yeah, that's why the draw sevens have been fading out of Vintage. I mean, it seems like it's only really the combo decks that play a lot of them. Do you have how many of them do you have in your list this week? Oh, this is card for card the same list.
Card for card, we have Time Twister, Time Spiral, which you saw on Eric's list.
Yep.
Wheel of Fortune and Tinker for Jar, but no Windfall.
So, what's the theory behind having all those draw sevens?
The deck is just a Time Vault centric combo, and all you're trying to do is just get as much search. It's just basically a search function. So okay. You even have cards like Gifts and Transmute Artifact to help assemble the combo. And if you can get to Memory Jar, then you can start recurring Memory Jar with Welder. And at that point, then you can just in a turn or two find the Time Vault combo. Or set up a ginormous Yawgmoth's Will. Sure.
Okay, so basically all in on setting up Vault Key.
That's right.
You are a combo deck. I had just said that the draw sevens are mostly only floating on the combo list, and that's just what you guys are. How much permissions in the deck?
4 Force, 2 Misdirection, and 2 Misstep.
2 Misdirection, of course. Is that what everybody runs, or is that your twist to the deck?
No, the players they run the misdirections. It's kind of important against not just Force Will, but cards like Abrupt Decay as well.
Yeah, Abrupt Decay is definitely a card that seems very relevant to Vintage. I know there's a fair amount of it running around. There will be an Eternal Weekend, and yet we haven't seen a single copy played in this league.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. That's the one deck that's been conspicuously absent so far, is the Bug deck. Yeah, but it's hard to it's hard to play it when Delver seems so good right now with all the burn.
Sure. I still feel like Dredge is a little bit conspicuously absent too. I mean, 1/30th of the metagame seems a little light.
And Tom went 3-0, so I think that may have dissuaded people who were maybe considering it. Because
I think everyone expected the field to be ready for Dredge this time around.
This time, yeah. I wanted to play Oath, but I just thought everyone's going to have so many cages. I thought Control Oath would have been pretty good in this final set if everyone's playing Delver. But, all right.
Here we go.
Looks like Tom's got the triple Pyromancer draw.
Wow. Dave's hand had a bunch of mana and a Vampiric Tutor to go get something cool.
Tough choice here for Tom. If he plays the Thoughtseize, he's going to put Dave in a hard spot. But if he doesn't, Dave is going to basically do whatever he wants next turn. And also, if he gets the black for Thoughtseize, he's not going to play Pyromancer anytime soon. So he did decide to go for the Pyromancer, and now Dave is going to be able to the Vampiric Tutor for the card of his choice.
What should it be?
This is going to be tricky. I think I would actually just get the Inkwell. I think the Inkwell can race.
So you mean Tinker? Get the Tinker out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Or I skipped a step there.
Yeah. That was my thought too, was to get a Tinker.
It's going to be 7 versus 5 damage. Of course, if Tom draws a land, then that trade doesn't look quite so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the drawback to Inkwell. It takes 3 turns to win with it. Okay, he does go for the Tinker.
Interesting that he didn't... okay, yeah. So he got the Tinker, and let's see what he's going to get. Inkwell or Jar?
Sure. Yeah, I think in the I was just reading in the chat. Dave said in the first game he was thinking of Tinker Jar as his option, and he figured, well, rather than Tinker Jar, I'll just wheel. And he just kind of forgot about the Inkwell line until he then drew it on the next hand. But
all right,
yeah,
here we go. We got an old-fashioned race.
Yes, we do. Wow. No black mana for the Thoughtseize, so Thoughtseize would throw off a couple of elemental. That's not bad. Take 7. Sure looks like Dave wins this race.
Does look like it, but there are a lot of things I guess Tom could get Time Walk or,
right.
Gush into Time Walk.
5. Here's 2 more, so 7. Yeah, Tom's going to have to top deck something good. Dave's going to have to resist the urge to cast Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Which he does, and Tom fails to top deck. So looks like we're going to game 3.
Wow. Whew.
Tinker for Inkwell. Pretty good. Bunch of mana and a Vampiric Tutor. Tinker out your fatty. That's vintage. Sometimes.
And it all came down to the decision that Tom had, which if Tom had played Thoughtseize, that Tinker would never have had never resolved.
Why Dave responds with the Vampiric, right? Why doesn't it work?
Oh, he can Thoughtseize the Force or the time.
Oh, he can Thoughtseize the Force. Therefore, his Force of Will can stop the Tinker.
Right.
Yeah.
But he had no red mana, so he would have been sitting on 3 Pyromancers for however many turns it took him to draw red mana.
I don't know. I think I like his line better. I think you just run out the Pyros there. Would you have gotten the black mana for the Thoughtseize?
I probably would have played the Thoughtseize.
And then just assume things will work out later?
Yeah, I mean, you've got Force. There are a lot of draws are live. I assume he has like Ataxian Probe and Preordains and all that. Yeah. So you have a really good chance of finding the red mana pretty soon.
I'll buy that. He did in fact find a Volcanic very quickly for whatever that's worth.
Ataxian Probe is, I think, peak value in a deck like this because of the same principles we talked about before, having a light mana base. So you're most likely to draw the business.
Yeah, it seems good too if you're trying to go on a treasure cruise. We haven't actually seen any of that from Tom, have we? Or is that a treasure cruise in his hand right now? It is, in fact, a treasure cruise in his hand right now. So it's 2-2. We've seen two people went for Dig Through Time. 2 people went for Treasure Cruise.
We'll find out.
Do you guys have any cons cards in your list?
No, there are some people who say that you've got to play the cons cards in Vintage, which is pretty insane. I mean, if you think about it, people are already saying that Treasure Cruise should be restricted.
That's clearly premature. I don't even know if we're going to get there yet.
But it does sort of reveal how both popular they are and powerful people perceive them to be.
Yeah. All right, Dave Time Walks. Let's get the Toxic Deluge to clear away whatever happens.
Time Spiral.
Interesting. He's pondering. Is he there? No. He's got the Academy.
Yeah, which only at this point generates a measly 1.
It's only 1 mana. Oh, the other cards in this ponder are Mana Crypt and Max Emerald.
And he shuffled, it seems. And I think that's...
Really? That sounds exciting to me. Can't you spiral next turn? You just...
It's 2 all in, I think.
I guess.
If you had a shuffle effect, probably be keepable.
Yeah, I guess I'll buy that.
Dave's going to be sad with that, but at least he gets to spin the top in response.
Pretty big game here. It's tied for third. Brainstorm, Force of Will, Yogg-Will are the three cards. Brainstorm, Force. He chooses
Makes
to do all the
sense.
brainstorm. Yeah, the winner of this match is tied for third, and the loser of this match is only a game above last. Feels, I mean, it's only one game. I mean, one match win. I know they all count the same, but feels like a pretty big game here.
Well, it's fitting that they've got this intense game 3.
Yeah.
This is it. No clue who's going to win this one. Although Tom is only, I guess, if you count the Lotus, only 3 cards away from treasure cruising.
What does that hand do? There's no reshuffles.
Now,
so that hand takes a couple turns to get it all back.
And he hid the treasure cruise from the toxic deluge from potential Thoughtseize here.
Sure. Does Yawgmoth's do anything exciting yet? There's a Tinker in there.
Yeah, the Yawgmoth's can replay the Academy and all these blue cantrips as well as the Tinker.
Wow. Yeah, that's particularly nice.
So setting up the Yawgmoth's, if he can get that to resolve, although Tom's got Flusterstorm, should win this game. The ideal way I think this could unfold is if Dave can get Tom to fight over Toxic Deluge. Probably not going to happen, though.
So what is Dave waiting for?
I think he's topping, right?
No, I just mean he chose not to do anything last turn.
Oh, he just wants to draw the cards he put on top, right?
Well, here's a treasure. Khans of Tarkir cards are undefeated so far today. They're fully 3-0. This means Tom's wins. I think that's what that means. I think that's how math works. I think Deluge, Volcanic, Black Lotus. He puts Black Lotus on top.
Black Lotus and Treasure Cruise is pretty good together.
Yeah. Tom cruises into 2 more Treasure Cruises. Now, Brainstorm. He's got a Blast, a Misstep, a Force of Will. I do not think Dave is going to be able to resolve that Yawgmoth's Will. Wow, Khans of Tarkir is going to go 4-0.
Christmas.
Neither you or Bob had them. Every other match has been decided by the guy that cast a Khans of Tarkir card. Crazy.
Here comes Delver.
Sure. The whole Black Lotus and the Yawgmoth's thing looks like it should be good, but I guess you can't blast the Yawgmoth's Will. So what? No, he forces the Yawgmoth's Will, and then he's got a blast for the Force, right?
That's right. I mean, he can even if Dave has a blue card on top to spin, he's just got too much counter magic here.
Yeah, he gets red elemental blasted.
Dave's best line is just to continue to dig. That, just treat the Delver like a burn spell. Right now, it's only a 1/1, so you've got plenty of time. I just hope Dave recognizes that.
Doesn't feel that way when your opponent just drew 3. They're tapped down to 1 mana right now. You feel like there's this window before they get their defenses back up again, right? Feels that way. I wouldn't blame Dave for going for it here. That's all I'm saying.
Well, the other thing is that, I mean, this next treasure cruise is not going to come next turn or probably even the turn after.
Sure.
So he definitely has time in that respect.
Well, I mean, not that Dave knows that.
Right. Still, I mean, he can surmise that Tom's not going to refill his graveyard that quickly. He's got 2 cards in there already.
Yeah. Well, here's the Mana Crypt. Because I think he can.
Oh no, Dave.
No, I mean, look, I think this line's defensible. It's not going to work out, but I think it's totally reasonable to try. You really think he's supposed to just sit there and dig?
Well, I guess it depends in large part on what's actually on top of his library.
It's Toxic Deluge.
Right. We know there's a deluge there.
We know the next card, too, is also not very relevant. Not blue.
Okay. I mean, I think I would orient myself to try and get the deluge to draw out the counter magic, and then, you know, a la LSV, right? Draw everything that doesn't matter, and then play the game-winning card. I think that would have been my approach.
Tom goes for the Force. Dave hard casts the Force of Will. Tom had the Elemental Blast. So no Yawgmoth's Will for David Williams.
And is he going to be able to? He's okay. And then the card beneath that is toxic. Is the treasure.
Dave is going to spin the top. Upkeep. What does he see? Should be Deluge, Volcanic, Red Elemental Blast. And that Red Elemental Blast might have been useful a while ago, but he would have had to get the Volcanic and the Reb. I guess if he does nothing, he doesn't know. He knew about the Volcanic. The Red Elemental Blast is new information. Yeah, draws the Red Elemental Blast. Doesn't have the red mana to cast it yet, but Martell on quite the run. If he finishes this off, like it kind of looks like he will.
Yeah.
4-3 from 0-3.
So Dave can draw out some of this stuff. The problem is that it's going to be at the position where even if he can draw out some of Tom's counter magic, he's going to be running into another treasure cruise here.
Yes.
So
the card looks really good here.
In largely the same position, even if he can, you know, even if Tom feels compelled to stop this red blast and the deluge that will follow. But it isn't to say that Dave doesn't have a lot of outs. I mean, he's got a lot of draw 7s.
Yep.
There are definitely things he can do.
Do you need to kill the Delver now? Kill it end step? What's the line here?
Yeah, I think
he can't afford to just keep getting hit by it, right?
No. I think he's got the Mana Crypt out there too, but he's got to kill that thing at the sort of optimal window, which I think will be Tom's end step.
So what? How many ways does he have to get rid of his own Mana Crypt? The Tinker's already in the graveyard, and the Yawgmoth's Will's been countered.
He has a Transmute Artifact, which will work, and he also has a Hercle's Recall, unless he's / Rebuild. Which he may have kept in case.
In the sideboard.
Yeah, probably in the sideboard. But he also has cards like Gifts Ungiven that can.
Tom ponders into Ancestral. I guess you have to blast that since you have Toxic Deluge on top of your deck. You can't let him just draw 3 more.
And I think if he resolves, he's about the Treasure Cruise again as well, right? He'll be 1 short.
1 short.
Well,
oh jeez, not that short because he gets to Mental Misstep the Red Elemental Blast. Crazy. He's got the land. Wow. 2 treasure cruises and an ancestral? Seriously?
Oh, and Gush.
Tom Martell, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not excited about Gush anymore. You may have some lingering nostalgia for this Gush card, but you've seen the boat full of gold? Come on. You don't even have to pick your lands up for that one. You just have to make hypothetical Yawgmoth's wills worse.
Play spells.
Wow. Just ancestral and treasure cruised on the same turn.
And Dave also has to Toxic Deluge into the Mana Crypt range. So yeah. This game is over, unfortunately. And I mean, this Delver Pyromancer. Maybe I should have just stuck to this with Treasure Cruise.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I should have been this. Like I have many of these cards in the Merfolk shell, but Pyromancer looks great. Yeah, that looks like just the right shell. Cool, good for Tom.
Well, congrats.
Moves himself to 4-3, tied for third with Chris and Ephro. Williams falls to 3-4, tied for, what is that, 6th, I guess, with Rich Shea, a match above me, Bob, and Josh. There you go. First look at Khans at Tarkir. You impressed? You're saving your stuff. I get it. That's totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the cat is sort of out of the bag at this point. Everyone recognizes the power of Treasure Cruise and remind me the name of the other one.
Dig Through Time.
Right. I think the open question is which one of those is going to prove to be better. And you placed your bet on Dig, and LSV I think has as well. Although I suspect that the Treasure Cruise is going to be the one.
Well, to be fair, I have Treasure Cruise in my list because I'm playing a Merfolk list. Like, I think it's situational. I wanted to play a Dig Through Time list, and I spent a couple hours this afternoon, and I wasn't able to get one put together that felt good to me, because it seems like with Dig Through Time, you want to be going to get haymakers. Like, I want Dig Through Time in a deck like yours, where I'm trying to get Vault Key, I'm trying to just put together powerful 2-card combos where the ability to just see a bunch of cards and take the broken ones is powerful. That's not how Merfolk works, right? It's not like any of my cards on my Merfolk list are particularly better than any of the others, so I just went Cruise. I mean,
yeah, it could also be the case that you know, that there are different kinds of strategies that these cards are better in, not just the, you know, the haymakers, but like Oath of Druids. You might really value looking at the 7 cards more than you would just drawing the 3. You know, being able to find the key combo card.
Right.
And also, it's not clear sort of what the secondary effects of these cards are going to be. I mean, I think the most obvious thing is that Nihil Spellbomb gives a lot more value. It's just a general inclusion. But the other thing is that it seems to me these sphere effects, in terms of slowing down the cycling of cards like Ataxian Probe and the Preordains that feed the Treasure Cruise, gain a lot of value. So workshops seem even better.
Yeah, nobody went shops this set. Yeah, it was another deck that I have no experience at all with workshop decks. Like, I thought about it. Again, I guess I'm being the fun police. You didn't put anybody on null rods, and I was trying to figure out how to be the fun police. But I had no experience with workshop decks, so I just kind of went with the Merfolk, which seemed a little more straightforward. I don't know. It's just the thing I have a little more experience with.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you're such a nice guy. I call you a meanie for playing null rod.
I didn't put I don't have any of the other stuff, right? You want to show up with thorns too? I do think that you're right that shops seem particularly good against the new toys.
I think everyone who's played them so far has at least one Gitaxian Probe, right? I mean, we've seen LSV, I think had it. And I have to say, I mean, Rich Shea's deck has 3 Pyroblast main deck, from what he's posted on Facebook. So, I mean, you know, he's got a lot of anti-shop cards, but I'm not sure if it would be enough. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, and all of our deck lists are obviously tuned for the 10 of us, and even more specifically for the 3 people who are going to play next time. So definitely a bit of an inbred metagame, still useful, I think, for figuring out what to play at Eternal Weekend, but I don't necessarily know that anybody wants to just grab one of our lists and run it in Philly.
But viewers will have plenty of ideas, plenty of starting places to start.
That's fair. All right. Well, that pretty much ends things for week number 7. We can actually bring up the schedule and sort of remind you guys what it is we saw, kind of wrap things up. The first match we had here in round number 7 was Eric Froelich against Rich Shea. Efro showed up not with a mono blue deck for the first time, but actually with sort of the what's the name of the deck you guys are running?
Angel City Vault.
Angel City Vault. So he seems to have his own take on the Angel City Vault, or maybe he was inspired by something else, but seemed very similar to what the Angel City Vault list that you're playing. Was not good enough, though. Rich Shea finally back on the scoreboard after winning the first 2 weeks and then losing the next 4. So Rich takes that match. He cast Khans of Tarkir cards, so he won. Chris Pula and Luis Scott Vargas. Chris seems to have a sort of Esper control. So is that there's like a Blue Angels deck or something that runs around the East Coast? Do you know this deck list, Steve?
No, I think Chris is just playing his own homebrew. He's just got
a homebrew?
Yeah.
Oh, even better. It's a homebrew that supports Meddling Mage. Thumbs up. However, did not cast any Khans of Tarkir cards. So Luis did, and Luis won. He's got essentially Gush Bond, Pyromancer, Shell, which seems like a great home for Khans cards. And his choice was Dig Through Time. Rich was on Treasure Cruise. Luis was on Dig Through Time.
Do we know how many Dig Through Times Luis ran?
I mean, the lists are about to go up. If they didn't go up in the last 5 minutes, I think they'll go up in the next 5 minutes. Hopefully, I'm not making promises that Paul Waite can't actually cash for me, but they'll be up momentarily if they're not already up. I have not seen the lists myself. My match against Josh, I'm running Merfolk, but with a couple Treasure Cruises. Josh is running a Pyromancer list. He didn't work with LSV, but came to very similar conclusions about the format, including Dig Through Time as the delve card of choice. He cast Dig Through Time, and he won. Look, I see a pattern. My narrative just told itself. So here we are. Your match against Bob did not somehow involve any Khans of Tarkir cards.
It isn't to say that Bob wasn't running them, though. But
he might be. I don't know. Yeah. We did get to Game 3. I think that was actually the first match to go to Game 3 this week. And it was Bob who was victorious. He's rattled off a couple of wins in a row now, having started off 0-5. And you've gone in the other direction, although, I mean, you're still second place all by yourself at this point. The last match, Tom Martell versus David Williams. Tom managed to cast Ancestral and Treasure Cruise on the same turn, having set that turn up with a previous Treasure Cruise. So, winner bug for him. In a pretty interesting 3-game match between the two of those guys.
Yeah. Lots of interesting decisions.
Yeah. Lots of sort of Pyromancer Gush lists. Lots of, I keep blanking on this, Vault City.
Yeah, Angel City Vault.
Angel City Vault.
The guy who developed this particular variant lives in LA, so Angel City.
Angel City Vault. Got it. That might be the mnemonic I need for it to stick. So what do we have? 3 Angel City Vaults, 3 Pyromancer Gush lists, or are there more? Is it 4? I think it's 4. And then there's a Merfolk floating around and a couple of control sort of, yeah.
And Esper aggro.
Cool stuff. So that's week 7. Do we have the week 8 schedule as well? I think we do. You can see what's coming next. Don't have the decks listed in here yet, but Chris will be playing Bob, which, how does that match play out?
Well, Chris has the Spirit of the Labyrinths will be pretty good.
Oh, wow, sure.
I think does Dig Through Time trump Spirit? Does it draw? It doesn't draw.
It looks at 7, choose 2.
That is pretty
Dig Through Time beats Spirit, but Dig Through Time also beats Notion Thief in a way that Treasure Cruise does not.
Yeah.
That'll
be a really interesting match to watch.
Yeah, I feel like Dig is underrated. Like I think Treasure Cruise is a good card in Vintage. I think Dig is at least underrated and possibly even better than Treasure Cruise. That's kind of where I'm at. Well, I'm not saying Treasure Cruise is bad. I'm not saying you should always play Dig over Treasure Cruise, but like you should figure out, I think, whether you're a Dig deck or a Cruise deck. That's my theory right now. Rich plays LSV. Tom playing against Josh. I play you, trying to get off the bottom. And Efro against Dave. The two, they've been sharing tech all the sets leading up to this one. It's still funny to me that they did not work together this time because they're playing each other and yet somehow still wound up in the same conclusion. Now, you feel like that deck just has an advantage against the Delver lists?
Well, I couldn't play Delver. I decided, I just
Okay.
couldn't play Delver in this set.
But you were expecting a field of Delver.
Oh yeah, I thought there'd be a lot of Delver, and I also thought there'd be a lot of people really targeting Delver with lots of Fire Ices and a lot of just Nihil spell bombs randomly floating around.
Okay.
It's actually funny when the first round started. I texted Dave. I said, "Did you share our deck list with Eric?" And he said, "No, I don't know. I don't know how I got it. I'm going to find out though." But apparently, it was just a coincidence, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we wound up with 3 Merfolks in the first week. Same logic. I didn't work with those guys. Just came to similar conclusions. All right. Well, week 7 is in the books. Thanks for hanging out with us, Steve.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I will see you next week. See everybody else out there. Hopefully you guys will tune in. We'll have the deck lists up and lots to talk about as we come down the home stretch. Just 2 weeks left before the playoffs. Some top 4, last place, lots going on. Tune in next week for week 8. We'll see you then.